Oh, hey everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Kerbal. I apologize for the sudden cutaway that occurred at the end of the last episode, but that was kind of the point where I realized that if I was just going to fumble around with this brand new construction system that, I've never played before in this game, then really that wouldn't be that interesting to watch. So here we are right now, and this is kind of what I was building up to. Loading in now, I see that there are obvious problems with this system, considering literally all of the pylons that I placed down are sort of up in the air right now. I'm not sure how that's going to impact our future endeavors, but whatever the case, some of them are still on the ground at least, and hopefully what this leads to is that now that I have something that resembles an electrical grid all set up, combined with its little lights and everything, this means that landing bases around here is going to be a bit easier in the sense that I can just all hook them up to an electrical grid. I can also put generators out here, and the really cool thing is that I can pretty much just send the parts down on kind of like supply drones, like this one, right, carrying a bunch of stuff in them. And I can have the Kerbals assemble them out here, which is what I did, basically. I built all these pylons bit by bit. By first, putting down the pylon, then the strut, then the thingamajigs. I put these all on one by one, and you know what? It works. We got the lights on top of it. It's pretty neat, I think. Now, obviously this does mean that we now have an energy crisis on our hands. But these are all things that we're going to solve in the future. At any rate, now this is something that I know that can be done. Something I'm probably going to have a lot of fun with in the future, and really all I just wanted to do was provide you guys an update as to not leave you wondering as to what happened at the end of the last episode. So, thanks. Now for the real episode. The actual mission that we're going to be performing today is one that I haven't done before. Place a satellite in Keostationary orbit of Kerbin. What that means is, this is not a term that exists in the real world. What does exist, however, is geostationary orbit, which is an orbit that revolves at the exact same speed as the rotational speed of the Earth. That's a geostationary orbit. Keostationary orbit, obviously, is the same, but instead of Earth, it's Kerbin. This is also known as a geosynchronous orbit, or I believe just a synchronous orbit is also one. Like a synchronous orbit is a type of orbit that adheres to some sort of pattern, and in this case the pattern is that it is always specifically above one point of the Earth, right? That's the idea. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to launch. Obviously that means that the orbit has to be at a very specific height. Now it gives it to us, but not only does the height have to be, perfect, but it also has to be rotating over the exact spot. Now, I don't know how this is regularly done, but I do have an idea myself of how I can get it done. And I know that some of you are probably cringing at that, but I feel like my idea is a good one, and I want to put it into practice. So just give me a second to mount this on top of an Osprey rocket and put it inside a fairing, and I'll be right back. Right, there she is. We got the probe sitting on top of the Osprey 4 rocket. Now, we have a total of 4,700 meters per second of delta V on this rocket here. Some of you right now are probably saying, "Oh, but Lemorack, that's way too much thrust. You don't nearly need that much thrust just to get out into orbit." To those people, I say, the Saturn V rocket was also way more powerful than just a simple trip to the moon, and they still used it as a simple trip to the moon. That's just my lazy excuse, however, for the real reason that I put it on this, and that is that this is the Osprey rocket that I happen to have lying around in my subassemblies file, and I didn't want to bother go around making an entirely new rocket just for this purpose. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's get down to business, shall we? The timing of the launch doesn't necessarily matter at this point. Right now, I just want to get up to orbit, first of all. We'll worry about the rest when we get there. So before, I actually fly this, let me just make sure that the satellite Okay, so everything is on there. It's got the gravioli detector, got the materials bay, got the thermometer. Just make sure that, before I go through all the trouble of launching this, it's all good. All right, so now let's let's do it. Let's go up into orbit. We'll do the whole thing. We'll do this entire launch. This is probably going to be a very short episode anyway, but first of all, it's another chance for me to attempt at, getting better at the rocket landing thing. It's been saving us a good chunk of money. And it's been a while. I think it's been a while since we've followed an entire launch, because most of my episodes nowadays I just start from the space station, which makes sense, by the way. And, this is also, I don't do a lot of these. I don't do a lot of these Kerbal satellite launching missions, which I probably should. There's a reason that's what we do mostly in real life, right? There's a reason that most real-life space missions are... there's basically two kinds, right? There's two kinds of missions that occur on a regular basis. One is some kind of satellite launch of some sort, and the other is cargo heading up to the space station. And then, every once in a while, there will also be a crew transfer on the space station. But this is real-life stuff, by the way. This is not me in my video games. So, yeah. And the reason that they do that is because that's where the money is, right? Those are the only ways you can actually turn a profit off of rocket launches. That's the one thing that we on Earth absolutely need nowadays is satellites. Satellites are extremely important for our everyday lives nowadays, for us people who use GPSs on our phones and, couldn't find our backyards if Google Maps didn't tell us. But also, satellites are used in tracking global weather, in all sorts of meteorological purposes. So, we do need them. We definitely do need them. And there's, again, there's a scientific reason, right? The meteorological stuff is still mostly scientific. There are some actual, reasons of profit, but most of the actual, profit from satellite launches comes from companies that need, GPS satellites and the like. So I probably should be accepting more of these contracts, especially if I manage to, make a rocket that I can reliably land. I'm going to try and take this down a bit, just because I don't actually need to use up all the fuel. I can pretty much easily just get us out into orbit with this. And then what I'm going to do, as soon as I get up to the periaps, coming soon. Yeah, right about now. Let's try and push up this, turn the RCS on. Let's try and get this out into orbit. So I can get that periapsis up to a reliable number using just this rocket. The less the probe actually has to do, the better. And I do have some fuel stowed away here, so it's the fuel that we use to land. All right, kick it up. Periapsis is climbing. Will we make it to orbit, though, or have I botched this? It's cool that I'm having to look at the map screen less and less often. Just having all this data poured on my screen by the Kerbal engineer. Something that I really missed. Probably the best mod that I downloaded so far is Kerbal Engineer. I highly recommend it to even just beginner players. I understand, to me too, I saw Kerbal Space Program players use this mod, and it was, daunting, and I didn't want to touch it. But The truth is, it's a really useful mod. And just because there's a bunch of numbers, you know, strewn all about it, and it looks very daunting, doesn't at all mean that it should be, you know? Not in the slightest. Okay. There's the orbit. I did that orbit barely looking at the map. It's another good reason to get this mod. Okay. So that all went perfectly well. Now let's just deploy the fairing. And then deploy the probe itself. Let's extend the antenna. Extend the solar panels. And VATCO has their satellite in orbit. And we shall bring this orbit into its proper position just as soon as I am done landing this behemoth. Or maybe... No, you know what? I think it would be better if I got the satellite into position first. So, basically here's what I want to do. And again, this is probably not the way this is meant to be done. Hang on, I'm reconsidering again. It's because... Nah, we're good. I'll just... The question of electric charge obviously comes in here, so I'm just going to turn off the SAS and let this thing drift in space for now. Put it on hibernation mode, and then do this. So we're going to speed up to periapse. And there's just something I want to make sure of as we pass by this location. This is the spot we need to be above. Okay, so let's slow down right about here. If I activate navigation here, it's not going to help because I'm not going to see it. But once I get above the zone, right? Once I get above the zone, nothing happens. How do I know if I'm there or not? Because I'm actually literally going to have to look at the globe. Oh well, we'll figure this part out later. For now, let's warp around to periapse. This is my landing barge, still sitting out there in the ocean. Alright. It's good. Stop right here. Prograde. And get burning. We're rocking the Terrier. By the way, still going liquid fuel on my probes. I can't, for the life of me, figure out ion at all. Alright, what's the apoapse we're looking for here? 2863. We're going to be at this for a while. There's 1 million. $2 million. I'm looking at this. Yep, alright. A bit underneath it, but it should be fine. Let's boost it up a bit. Now, I'll go back to the map. Alright, see? Perfect. Now we go over there, and here's what we're going to do. Once we get up there, Earth is going to start rotating faster. I hope. Actually, now that I think about it, I know that I said something stupid because we're going to be rotating exactly at the same speed as Kerbin is. So I guess at this point my goal is just trial and error. Eventually we'll hit a point where we get above that. So I'm just going to rotate around the Earth a couple times here, Kerbin a couple times here. I'll see y'all in a minute. Apologies. Give me one moment. Okay, so basically here's what happened. I figured that the best way to treat this is kind of like a rendezvous. Get at a specific orbit and then just wait until you're right above it, which is right now for us. So while the opportunity is still listening and the stationary orbit above Sansi's gift has been checked off, I'm going to burn prograde now and then get this orbit set. There we go. Gotta go towards the radial in vector a bit to flatten this out somewhat. There we go. See it moving inwards. Contract complete. So basically now at the rate we can check this out. So as this orbit rotates, you can see that we're constantly above that zone, which has disappeared now. But we are basically rotating at the exact same speed as the planet's surface is. So we're always looking at this continent, right? That's the idea of a geostationary orbit. Or a Keostationary orbit in this case. But of course, our contract may be complete. The mission, however, is not. We've earned 110,000 credits on that, which is pretty good. Feel like I would do this again. That's fairly easy cash. Still have one more thing that we need to finish. And, well, first of all, let's rename the satellite. Make sure we have it classified. This is the Samries... I should name it after the company, actually. Keostationary. Can't remember how to spell satellite. I think it's like that. Probably not. I don't know. It'll have to do. Okay. So now that that's classified, let's head back to the rocket, and then let's put this baby down. Still actually got some fuel left in its main fuel cells. Doesn't matter though because we're not going to use that. Stupid ads on these. Okay. So let's do this. Let's land this baby. Got to find ourselves Kerbal HQ. It's right there. It's in the sunlight, so that's good. And basically, we're going to do this is I'm going to go. We want to get it as close to Kerbal HQ as possible. That is the goal, because the closer we land it, the more money we get back. Don't know why my junk view is turned on. Right about now, I think, is a good time for us to start slowing down. So let's turn the SAS back on. And it's not going to move, obviously, because it's in hibernation mode, and also the RCS isn't turned on. So, alright, so let's turn on hibernation. Turn it off, specifically. Alright. There we go. Now, let's deactivate the engines. The ascent engines turn on the descent engines. Let's also make this fuel available for us. And let us begin to slow down. It's going to take more fuel than I'm happy using, but that's fine. See just how close to Kerbal HQ we can go back home, huh? That sounds fun. Considering the rate at which the atmosphere is going to slow us, I'd say stopping it right about under this peninsula is where I'm going to do it. Worst case, we land a bit inward. Or even worst case, we land on the water. All of those are perfectly manageable, though. So let's keep ourselves oriented towards retrograde. Turn on the air brakes. Bring this all the way down. It's because I don't... This isn't even really there anymore. Now let's just... let's land it. Okay. Entering the atmosphere now. And we're not really slowing yet. We'll see how fast we slow, and if we're not slowing fast enough, then I'm going to start using the boosters. If I could land this on the launch pad, that would be like the best thing ever. It's obviously not going to happen. Let's take a look at the rate of our slowing. we're probably going to slow down. We're not above where we're more move more than halfway in now, so I think we're gonna end up close, but definitely not close enough. Although, I mean, we'll see. Okay, we've begun spinning. Actually, I think I'm going to turn the RCS off because at this point, you know, it doesn't really do us much. The flaps actually do more to stabilize the vessel than anything else. We're actually not slowing down enough. So I might end up having to use the boosters here. We'll see what happens. Main engines are in danger of overheating. Nervously watching the map to see how our flight path is headed, and I actually think I am going to turn on the thrusters. Okay, let's see how that helps. All right, well. Still kind of headed toward the water, but chutes are going to change this. Did my chutes deploy? Deploy the chutes! Deploy the goddamn chutes! Oh my goodness. This is ridiculous. Deliberately moved it down. That's 5. We're chute number 6. Why is chute number 6 not deploying? There we go. Oh my goodness. Well, I had to manually turn on all the parachutes because they decided not to listen to me. I can't explain that. That just kind of happened. It looks like I didn't need that boost after all. We'll see what happens once we get the full deploy altitude. Yep. Flipped over. That's pretty much what I expected to happen. Can we deploy the chutes fully, please? There we go. Okay. Didn't manage to land it on the launch pad. Didn't even actually manage to land it at KSP, but close enough. Where's the sun? Sun's right above us. Shadow should be right below us then. Wonderful. Alright, what's our altitude? We're coming in at a pretty decent rate, and we got lots of fuel left. So this rocket landing thing is, I mean, I gotten quite good at it, honestly. We don't have any lander legs that can carry the weight of this rocket. Oh, but here we go. Lost a wing. Stupid ads. Lost a wing, but luckily that's all we lost. That's pretty good. That's mission complete. So last thing we got to do is we got to check and see what we get for this. I'm very curious now. Come on, show me something nice. Yep, that's almost the rocket's full price. Hang on, let me get my notepad. Where the heck did I put that note? I had a notepad with the calculations for the price of the rocket, but you know what? I can't find it anywhere, so I guess we're not checking it out. Doesn't matter. We got a good deal of money back. We got it back at 97.7% value, so yeah. This is something that I've learned right now, that, you know, the distance from Kerbal Space Center does definitely count. That's the reason that I was losing money previously. And it's not something that I can necessarily fix. Like with this one, it was easy because the payload was so small that the rocket had enough fuel to choose where it wanted to land, essentially. It could get out into orbit, and then we could land it wherever we wanted. But that's not something that we're going to be able to do easily. We're going to have to settle for like 75 to 60% value returned from the vessels that we land because of reasons. But this is good. This is definitely a good step for our space program. I can't honestly remember how much money we started this out with. In total, right, we got I believe we got 110,000 credits for completing the contract and 300,000 back from the recovered spacecraft. So we're doing good. We're essentially doing pretty good. Question is, what is going to be paying our bills next time? I'll choose this, and then that'll be the end of our episode. We got the Plant a Flag on Eve contract. We have 25 years to accomplish it. I mean, that is going to be a part of our mission eventually, but I'm not actually going to take that. Not actually going to take that contract until we get like a surface-based construction or some other contract like that for Eve, because we've already landed there, right, with the probe. We're not going to the moon. Science data from space around Kerbin is trivial, so I might as well take it. We're not expanding a decommissioned base. I'm not yet ready to tackle the asteroid question. I can't remember where BOP is, but I don't think I want to do that just yet. Got a specific orbit for a satellite. Pays us 53. And I mean, this is easy cash, so I might as well accept that too. And then, here's another interesting one. We could attempt to save a Kerbal, which we always need more crew, right? And at the same time bring his, or her, is that he or her? Him. His space capsule back too. Let's see, it's 2.5 meters wide, so we can't probably put it in a cargo bay, but we can grab onto it. Yeah, you know what? I think we're going to do this one next. We still got a bunch more time before Eve is in the proper orbit for us to come back home with it. So while we're waiting for Eve to be in the proper position for us to bring the probe home, we'll be doing a couple missions like these, just to earn us some money, pay us some bills, practice my rocket landing, you know, that kind of thing. And I will see all of you on the next Kerbal Space Program episode of the Daily Kerbal. See you guys.